Yes, young Jedi, give in to your anger.
Okay.
Give in to the hate.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 499 of the Dead Robot Society. I'm
so close.
I'm Paul E. Cooley, and Terry needs to keep his hands above the table. And joining me today is my erstwhile compatriot, Terry Mixon. How are you, sir? Besides, never mind. This goes back to a pre-show comment. How are you?
10 figures, baby.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, man?
Doing all right. What's up with you in your world, man?
More writing. I intend to finish Clan Wars by the end of this month, and I'm on schedule to make that happen. I'm about 60% done with it. I think I figured out what the actual replacement title is going to be. I think it's going to be, Covert Action.
Covert Action?
Mm-hmm. Because Clan Wars just didn't happen.
Okay.
The plot went left on me. So that title obviously is not going to work out. So I had to come up with something else.
It's funny how your titles work for you and how my titles work for me. That's very amusing. We're almost at the opposite ends of the spectrum to a certain degree, and yet we're not.
I should know better than to settle on a title before I'm mostly done.
I settle on a title usually before I begin the book.
Yeah, I tried to do that. That's why Clan Wars isn't happening.
Yeah, and it's also why Fight for Terra or whatever it was didn't happen either.
Yep. So maybe I'll learn from this lesson and not try to name a novel before it's time.
What would help if you had a freaking idea where you were going, Mr. Squirrel?
See, in other news, Bound by Law, the third book that I have going with Glenn is out.
Yay!
You can pick it up on Amazon.
Yay!
Liberty Station's audio is up, and I know that the audio for the Terra Gambit is off with the producers.
Cool.
So the recording of it is done. Thank you, Veronica.
Yay!
So it's been busy. Things are happening. Things are going. I'm happy.
I don't believe it. I don't believe any of it.
Well, if I'm happy and productive, that means that you're not. What's going on?
If you're happy and productive, raise your hand. What's going on with me? I am 67% through recording Derelict.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can see the finish line, and unfortunately it's a huge dark tunnel because these chapters are freaking huge. But I got most of that done. I'm up to 26 chapters edited. So assuming I finish the recording this week, which I think I will, if I don't drown tomorrow, or today, or Thursday, or Friday, I should be able to finish the recording for that this week, and then jump on finishing up Gears Inferno while I edit Destruction, and then hopefully get back on Trident in a big way. We're at 23,000 words on Trident. 23,000 words on Trident. That's not counting the 30 I'd already dumped, some of which I can reclaim. So, and we're still not to Trident yet.
You're never going to get there.
Oh God, yes I am. I have to get there. This is ridiculous. This is like your Terra Gambit, where it started off as Race to Terra, and then you decided you're never going to make it there. No, got to get there. Have to. I got shit to do.
You say that now, but some other little squirrel could pop up and then off you go.
No. The squirrels will happen at Trident. That's where the squirrels will happen. I got to get there first. So I should actually get them to Trident in the next 15,000 words.
Ooh, those actually sound like last words, famous ones as famous last goes.
Words. So I'm having a good time recording Derelict and finding typos that we missed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pissed
all the time.
I'm pissed. So making changes to that, and I'll have to send Severpress a big long change request list when I'm finished here. Basically, it's like I need to do better vetting on things before they go out. So that's
You
a
know,
lesson I've learned.
writing is art. It's only abandoned, and that includes typos.
This shit I got to fix. Really got to fix.
Did you kill somebody twice?
No, I did not kill. There's no well, there's one continuity error, but I fixed it in the audiobook. I haven't fixed it in the main manuscript yet, but we'll get on that as soon as I find all the rest of them. I don't want to put out multiple change requests. I want one that says, here's all the shit that's wrong, fix it. Or hand me the document and I'll fix it. So that's what I got to do. Besides that, the usual wear, tear, and mess of trying to get everything put together and having too damn many novel ideas going on at the same time.
Yeah, I hear you had 2 more while you were taking a nap.
Yeah, it's a bad idea. Bad idea.
I'm so proud.
With a little voice saying, but the black is extinct. Yeah.
Those are famous last words.
Yeah, famous last words. For some reason, it was happening on a space station where they said that. So I was like, oh, God damn it. No! Terry, get out of my brain.
My work here is through.
No,
it's not.
It's not. You keep doing this shit every freaking week to me. Jerk. You jerk. Yes,
but look how much things you have to look forward to now. You certainly can't say, oh, I don't have any ideas about what to write.
Dude, I have
never plenty had
that problem. I have never had that problem. Figuring out how to execute some of them, yes, I've had problems with that. But problems for coming up with story ideas, no, not at all. Anyways, problems with writing. I had the idea for talking about 5 things each of us had found in our writing that we're trying to fix, and we try and stay away from, that we consider verboten, but we still commit those crimes on a regular basis, and we're talking about how to stop it.
Or if we should.
So let's get into those 5 things, and we'll try and understand what Terry's 5 things are.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me, Paul, when you're involved in a writing project, are there any things that you intentionally set aside and say, I'm not doing that during this project? Whether you actually manage to make those things not happen or not, are there things that you consciously say, no, I need to keep this away. I need to keep it separate. This is something that I don't want to do. Is there anything like that in your writing style? Because you sent me an email talking about this and you mentioned the number 5 of these things. So why don't you give me number 1? I know you've got them lurking out there.
Oh, I've got them lurking everywhere. Let's see. 5 things I try not or do not do in my fiction.
Yep.
Head hopping.
You're not Nora Roberts, where you, in the middle of a paragraph, you're jumping to somebody else's head?
No. I like to write every scene. There's one character per scene I'm seeing through, unless I establish at the very beginning that it's none of the characters and it's just the narrator. Or I'm tracking a lanternfish or something like that. But every scene has got an observer who is telling you what's what, but we don't get the thoughts of anyone else.
What's the ROVs? I've forgotten the ROV's name again.
AUV5.
AUV5. I think AUV5 should be your primary protagonist going forward.
That's been mentioned more than once.
That's because it's a good idea.
It's been mentioned more than once. And it's funny because I think that going along with the not head hopping thing, when I was trying to figure out how to do those scenes in the black, it gave me a chance to make that a character. Because you hear it every time that somebody reads that. I get these comments about AUV5. It basically turned into this lovable little rogue that was going off and doing things and ends up being really important when it's first established as just a malfunctioning machine. But that kept me from having to make unrealistic things happen in the book, and also kept me from having to head hop, if you will. In some ways.
It also kept you from having to say, as you know, Bob.
Yes, and as you know, Bob, yes, that was the other thing. So those kinds of things are very, very helpful, and they get you around those problems. I just am not a fan of the head hop. It makes it confusing for me. It breaks it up, and I don't get a chance to recover from one character's feelings or observations before I'm jumping into another's. And I understand that in some scenes, writers are feel compelled to do that, and why they want to do it that way. I understand that. But for me, I try and solve that by if that happens, then I will have that character who was in that scene refer back to it. The what they took away from it, which can also be a very interesting tool to use. I think it actually is more compelling that way. So I find ways to not do that. What about you?
Right. Well, the first one is going to be no surprise to you. Outline. And it's more than just outlining. I really do try, other than maybe knowing what the end goal is, I try not to map out more than a scene or two in advance what things are going to happen. And the reason I do that is because part of writing for me is the surprise of events changing and being revealed, things that are hidden being revealed. And if I outline even to the degree of saying, okay, these are the major plot points of the novel, then it becomes boring to me. And I don't want to write it anymore because I already know what's going to happen. I want to be surprised. I want to have my characters do things that I don't expect. I want to have something pop up that seems relatively innocuous during the writing of the story. And then me sit there and go, wait a second, I could take that and do this other big monstrous thing off to the side here. And the next thing you know, Terry's leaning forward going, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
I want to see you with that haircut. Okay, David Wood, make this happen right now. Fire up the meme machine. I want to see Terry with that haircut. Make it happen, man. Make it happen.
There we go.
I can't wait to watch the internet burn when we release this.
No, the internet's going to burn when he goes ahead and does you looking like Marge Simpson.
No. We're not putting that out in the general feed. I'm cutting this. Cutting this right now. Shit.
But yeah, revealing to myself in advance too much of the story really impairs my enjoyment of writing it. And I just don't want to know. I literally am a pantser that has no desire to learn things in advance. I don't want to flip to the end of the book and know. And there's been plenty of books where I started writing something going, here's my end scene that I'm going to be aiming for. And by the halfway point, I'm going, yeah, I'm never going to see that end scene. That end scene is never going to happen.
This goes along with the no battle plan survives engagement with the enemy.
Mm-hmm. No plan survives contact with the enemy.
Right. No outline survives writing. It's just not for me either. I'll write the outline, then I'll crumple it up, toss it.
It's exploration. For me, it's a grand exploration and exploring the sense of wonder of the world that I've created. And I wouldn't have it any other way. If I find myself sitting there worrying about what I need to put in there, I know that I'm in trouble and I have to cut that away. I've got to stop that immediately because it's going to stop me cold. I will stop writing if I feel that way.
So if you feel like it's become a chore, it's boring, then you basically have to just walk away from it.
If it feels like work, I've made a mistake. I've gone and done something that I shouldn't have done. And there's been times when I've been writing where suddenly I just don't have any enthusiasm for what I'm writing anymore. And I realize that I've made a mistake and I have to back up a little bit, reconsider where I'm sitting at, and then hare off in a new direction. And that's pretty much Terry, herring off, looking for squirrels.
That is also why I dumped the first 25,000 words of not destruction, Trident. I dumped those for the very same reason.
It was feeling boring. It was feeling
forced.
Not like, yeah.
I've
done that before. I've gotten good after I've written 13 books of my own. I've written 5 books as under a pen name before I even started this. And that's one of the lessons that I've picked up as what I consider being a professional writer is recognizing when I've gone off course fast. If I've recently, I haven't had to throw away more than 3 chapters. 3 chapters is the most that I've allowed myself to go off course. I can recognize when I'm not feeling it pretty good nowadays.
Good for you. Good for you. As for me, I'll just keep flushing. At some point I'll release the unedited, unexpurgated, holy crap, how did you write this so many different things on this crappy book version of one of my novels.
What you said right there leads me into the second item on my list. So I'm going to go ahead and preempt you. I try my very best not to feel any judgment for my work. Not for what I feel. You used preachy words about your own work. I try my very best not to say, this is great work, this is poor work, this is crap, this is whatever, because I've learned that I'm not a good judge of my own work. The things that I've written that I'm like, that's pretty good. People are like, no. The things I've written that are just, it's words. They're like, oh, this is great. These things that you did here. They're like, where did you even get that from? Where did that even come from? I've discovered that I have no judgment that I can exercise about the quality of my own work.
Fair enough.
And you should feel that way too. Everyone should feel that way.
I should.
Here's the way this works. When you write, your authorial voice is the same voice that you have inside your head every day for the entirety of your life. To you, it doesn't sound special. It doesn't sound different. It doesn't sound exciting. To everyone else, it does not sound like everything they hear every day. They hear you with the real voice that you have that you cannot hear because it's you. Do not judge your own work. Let other people judge it for you.
This goes back to trying not to have imposter syndrome.
Is this your number 2, imposter syndrome?
No, but it certainly comes up now.
I have plenty of imposter syndrome, even having been full-time for 3 years now writing. I went to the SIFWA Nebula conference looking at all the other great writers that are there. And I'm like, I'm kind of like not like them. I'm not of the same level of success as they are. And I'm wrong. I'm wrong to think that, because I've told stories that are entertaining, that people have liked. I'm not an imposter. I am a writer, but I'm never going to change how I feel. It still feels odd. You just can't let it drive your actions. You've got to set it aside. It's just like voice. You can't hear it. You can't see your success either. If you're writing a book and you're finishing it, you're a writer.
I know I've done a good thing when I cackle. If I cackle madly while I'm writing it, then I know it's something that my readers are going to enjoy. I just know that.
If you have a great time writing something, that's a good thing, because in the end, we're not really writing for the audience. We're writing to entertain ourselves, and we're finding an audience that shares our taste.
Oh yeah, unless you're trying to do experimental shit. Then you don't find an audience.
Is this literary crap again? Are we not talking literary crap?
No, that goes more back to Garaga more than anything else. That goes more back to Garaga.
The problem sometimes is that while we entertain ourselves doing something, we may write something that the audience is smaller.
Yes, that is a good way of putting it. That is a good way of putting
it. And part of your problem with that is your marketing.
Here we go again. That is an entirely different conversation we will have later.
It's not like I have any good advice for your marketing. I'm just saying.
No one does. I've tried all sorts of shit. Nothing works. Nothing works. The only thing that works for my
some people just can't see your genius.
Oh, is that what it is? Is that what it is?
Maybe that's it.
I hope. It'd be nice.
Sometimes writing something that's space opera, I've got a pretty large pool of audience to do there. It's not like I'm writing romance, which has a monstrous audience. But if I went ahead and wrote something that's really, really niche, like, say, for example, well, I'm not gonna give any examples, but I know that I could write something that I enjoy that's going to have a lesser pool of audience, but I haven't let it stop me from doing it.
Well, that's why even if the sci-fi stuff keeps selling like crazy, I still want to get back to writing some more things in the Fiends kind of mold. Writing more Garaga, writing Tony Downs, because I really want to do play in those spaces. It's just like right now, my head is full of other crap that I have to get out.
Yeah, it's true. I've got a lit RPG novel that is lurking around the edges of my consciousness that I really want to write. I suspect it's not going to do nearly as well as if I go ahead and publish something in my main series, but I'm probably going to do it anyway because it'll entertain me.
Entertain Terry. Terry will be entertained.
I will be.
Well, and outside of the psychological stuff, another thing I try to never do, and to this point, I don't think I've done it at all lately, ever, maybe, is mixing tense. So present is always present, past is always past, and there's almost never any present tense unless it's in dialogue. If
you're using present tense, I'm afraid that you should take a vow of silence of the fingers and stop immediately. Move into a monastery. Do something else.
Oh, God. Yeah, the curmudgeon has spoken. The curmudgeon has spoken.
Every time I read something that's in present tense, I'm like, oh, really? Why? Why would somebody do that? It's like writing something in second person. Why would you do that to your audience?
Wow. There goes Terry again.
I'm a little judgmental when it comes to these things. Some people have written acceptable works. Acceptable. But doing it in present tense means that it will never be great.
Ooh, wow.
At least not in my heart.
And you can send your complaint in emails too. I'm going to give you Terry's personal address because I don't want it stuffing my inbox.
So tell me, other than literary stuff, do you ever find any present tense stuff that you like? Do you prefer present tense? Are we going to end our friendship right here, right now?
Wow. Just wow.
Okay. As judgmental as I am, present tense is a valid writing style. I don't think as many people will like your stuff as if you did use it, but that's just me talking.
I think there has to be a reason to use it. There has to be
ever a good reason to use present tense?
It depends. If you are skilled, really skilled, and maybe you're trying to tell a first-person story, and there's some component of it that makes that just works because it's in present tense.
Can you give an example of something?
I can't come up with one off the top of my head, but I'm thinking if you're really trying to get into the character's mind in such a way that it's stream of consciousness coming on, then it sort of makes sense if that's the kind of story you want to write. But I don't think it's something that you should be doing all the time because, like you said, if you're worried about the readership, past tense, I think, is much easier for readers to handle.
There is a series that an author I like writes that I love the series, that it's in present tense, and it takes me forever to get past the fact that present tense is being used, and I keep stumbling over it. And every time it pops back into my consciousness, it knocks me out of the story again and again and again. And I think that it's that way. If you do something that's going to keep knocking them out of the story, you're going to lose audience. Am I going to tell this successful award-winning author that they've done wrong by using present tense? Yes, I am, because I'm a judgmental son of a bitch. But obviously, they're doing just fine in spite of my opinion.
And Terry's personal email address is. Oh, God. So
Please,
what is
if
it?
you're going to send me something complaining about it, make sure and send it in present tense.
Oh, my God. Here's the question. Why does it bother you so much?
Because it feels artificial. Because the whole stream of consciousness thing is not how I grew up reading stories. And I've read a ton of work in the fiction realm. And every time I see something in present tense, it stands out in a bad way from everything else because it's phrased differently. And my mind refuses to wrap itself around that other way of telling the story.
Okay.
And
I was just curious.
Just like seeing something in second person. It's just knocks me right out of anything. Some people use it for things. Why? Maybe to torture themselves and people around them. I'm not sure. But yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I'm tired of making the thread about your personal email. Just
find me on Facebook, folks. You know where I am.
You know where he is. Oh, wow. This is going to be great.
You think there's going to be that many people that disagree with me?
No, I really don't.
Because I'm not anticipating a whole lot of flack on my opinions here.
You know, with our listeners, what will happen is we will get the faux hate mail. You know,
I like the faux hate mail.
Of course,
that's pretty good shit.
You love the fact that our listeners are just as big as smart asses we are.
Yep, I do.
Yeah. And
they will. Trust me. When somebody sends someone in, it's going to be in present tense.
You're not supposed to tell them what to do.
It's probably in second person present tense. Holy cow. I'm actually looking forward to seeing how that turns out.
Thanks, Terry. And I'll forward every single one of them to you without looking at them.
You're a liar. You're liar, lie pants. You're going to read it and you're going to laugh.
Probably. Sick ass people out there. Anyway,
that was number 2 for you. I'm not sure how we got into that. I don't know.
I was thinking more.
Number 3 here. Go ahead.
We're
thinking more.
I was thinking more about switching back and forth between tenses in a book.
I've effectively seen folks switch between first person and third.
Right. Yes.
In a book.
Right.
That's worked.
Yes.
I don't know about switching tenses. That sounds... I don't know how well that would work.
It's inadvertent.
Oh, I see what you mean. When I first started writing, I had times where I inadvertently switched between first and third. Just a word choice was wrong.
Yeah.
Not that I intentionally changed the viewpoint. If you don't have good enough control to at least stay in the tense you choose to use or the person you choose to use, that's a basic skill level problem that you probably should be looking at. That's a fundamental.
Yeah, it is a fundamental. It's just one of those things because I think most of the time, probably 99% of the time, it is an accident. It's a result of a typo or the author just put the wrong word in there. But it is one of those things that I constantly had to look out for when I was tutoring kids in college. So, because it would creep in all the damn time, especially when they were writing fiction. If they were writing an essay, they'd be fine because the rules are different. But I'd see that all the time. So it's one of my big pet peeves. I try to make sure I don't do it. All right, Terry, number 3.
It's kind of related to number 2, and I fail at it so often. It's worrying about whether the readers will like what I'm producing or not. I say that you have to put that aside and you have to just write the story you want to tell and trust that they're going to like it or not like it. But I worry about it. I'm like, oh, should I change these things to try to please the audience? And sometimes I do. Sometimes I do change it, and sometimes I worry about it, and it's paralyzing. If you allow yourself to get caught in that worry loop to where you're just caught up, oh, they're all going to hate it, then you're not going to write. And then you're going to feel bad about that. And it's going to just be a negative feedback loop that's going to just drag you down. You can't let yourself worry about it. I fail sometimes. I say that I have to not let myself worry about it. But sometimes, especially earlier on, I worried about it. I worried a lot about it.
I'm still worrying about it.
One of the things that I've heard a number of professional writers talk about is that you write the best book you can at the time you're writing it, you publish it, and you move on.
Yep.
You do better on the next one. And it's hard for me to accept sometimes that when I'm writing a book, I say, God, I could do so much better at this. I could be doing this particular aspect or that particular aspect better. The plot's a little disjointed. The things that I'm doing, I've taken a big left-hand turn. I can't possibly get to the end of the damn novel. Yeah, that happened too. Usually that doesn't happen, but it gets to me and I worry about it. And I haven't managed to break myself completely of the habit of saying, when I'm in progress with a project, I can't worry about how it will be received. But I should. If I'm going to continue doing this for however many more books that I'm doing it, I've got to do that. Got to divorce myself from the worry of how it's going to be received.
Yep. I know. When you made that statement earlier about the fact that, there's not a lot of people who know they can do this or even attempt it, as far as writing fiction or coming up with stories and telling stories and things like that. It's sometimes really difficult to remember just how good your imagination is in the books that you're writing. It's always a problem because you read somebody who's really good, you think is just fantastic, and you look at how they put things together and you're like, I'm never going to be able to write a book like that. Never. And then you come back and you realize you are writing a book like that.
See, that's where the imposter syndrome comes in. When I read a book that I really enjoy, I look at my own writing and I say, it's uninspired. It's the plot points that I'm hitting are all trite. The character's behavior is all flat. And once again, I'm falling to the thing with the author voice. I'm just not seeing what I'm producing the same way as I see someone else's work. And that's one of the things we have to accept is we cannot judge our own work. Any aspect of our own work, whether it's voice, whether it's the final story, whether it's how original it is, all of that stuff, it seems flat and unoriginal because it's in our heads. We just can't get away from it. And it's never going to change. You're not going to write you may find something, you're writing it and you're having a blast and you're having a great time and you're laughing out loud at it. That's great because you're in the groove. You're doing something, you're amusing yourself. But if you look at the project as a whole, you'll very rarely ever sit back and feel that satisfied with it because it's stuff that came out of your own head. It's you. It's got your imprint all over it. And we can't get past our own imprint.
That's a good point. I just try and trust the opinions of the people who I know will give it kind of to me straight, and then go from there. It's sometimes it's really difficult because you get somebody who says, how did you come up with all this stuff? It's like, it just happens. And it feels like such a cop out, but it's true. I'll just be sitting, walking the dog or something like that. And then bangs, this big thing just unravels. And it feels like you're stealing. It feels like it's coming to you for free. And it is in a lot of ways. It's just your brain, the way, teaching your brain how to think that way. And, it just works.
It's like a set of dominoes. You come up with one idea and it falls over and hits something else and knocks it over. And suddenly you've got a chain of events just pouring out of your mind. And you're like, yes, it's all flying along. I've got this here. you can't explain how it works because it's one inciting incident hitting another one, and it's just all coming together for you. It's hard to explain that in words.
Yeah, that's true. That's very difficult.
So what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Purple Prose.
The Mountainous Mushroom Man.
Actually, that sounds like a great story idea, The Mountainous Mushroom Man. This sounds like a great, wonderful title. I love it. Sounds like something Lansdale would write. I'd totally read the shit out of that.
Yeah.
Early on, I had this tendency to, early on being high school or early college, I had a tendency to really be overly descriptive over the top. It was great because you could see everything that was going on. It was bad because it meant the pacing would just come to a screeching halt quite often. So I would end up committing literature on accident. So that's another thing I got broken of in college because I finally realized it was actually holding the narratives back. But it's something I look out for. But every once in a while, I just can't help myself. If I've got that poetic turn of phrase, whatever I think it is, that sounds good to me, then I will put it on there and just make sure it's not over the top. But it is one of those things you kind of have to watch out for. And I think that's, God, I don't want to point fingers, but it seems like that's one of the reasons I don't care for the epic fantasy as much, because I've seen it where it's done way too much, way too often. But that's what it is.
I can accept that. Purple Prose is one. Back when I was writing erotica, that's really something you had to stay away from.
Oh yeah, I would think so.
Because it lends itself to it. There are all kinds of descriptor phrases you probably shouldn't be using if you're writing erotica.
That's the other thing Terry's going to put together for us: tips and tricks to writing erotica.
Oh no, not me anymore. No, I'm out of that market, buddy. You're not going to get that one out of me.
Phrasing. Is that something you had to break yourself of when you were trying to write, when you were writing erotica?
I had to be a little bit more careful than I am now.
So do you feel like you commit this sin often or no?
No, I don't write purple prose.
Okay.
When we start talking description, I actually feel that I don't write enough description that matters into my work. I feel that I should be adding more. Everything that you're writing should be filtered through the senses and the emotions of the character that's viewing it. And I don't think that I do that enough. I think I put too many, let's call it fake details in there. I'll say he saw the space station, but I'm not describing the space station. I'm not putting that through his feelings about it. It's a rundown hulk of rusting parts and leaking air, and I'm not describing it in a way that's actually going to make it different than if I say space station. What do you think? What would you see if I said that they entered orbit around the space station?
Immediately I see 2001.
See, I was thinking something like the Death Star. Totally different. Totally different in my mind of what it looks like. And that's a trap that we as readers or as writers fall into, because what we're describing, if we don't put enough detail in there that's real, that actually shows something for what it is. If you describe a barn, everybody's vision of what that barn is going to look like is completely different than yours, and you are not in control of what they're seeing. As a writer, if I was better than I am, I would be writing something that would be in control of the reader. Mind control. But I'm not there yet. I'm starting to realize that I am not there yet. And that's one of the things that when you get to a certain skill level as a writer, you suddenly realize how little you know. You start seeing all the things that you don't do as well as you think you could have, things that you're not doing, things that you could be doing. And you suddenly realize I've got a long way to go. I've got a lot of things to learn. I've got a lot of things to practice if I intend to be better than I am. And that's a good place to be in. If you're not growing, you're dying.
That's pretty much how I see it. I've said this before. I try every novel. I try and do something different. Every book. Mostly it's been failures. It hasn't destroyed the book, but it has introduced some things that people just didn't quite understand what I was doing. So I've learned that I have to be a little less subtle about some things, or just not try and do them at all. Like, for instance, on the Black, when everybody was talking to each other from the two groups, the two camps, if you will, the rig workers versus the engineering workers. The engineering workers all called each other by first name, unless they were dealing with the engineering folks, in which they called them very curt names, said their last names, and that was about it. And the same thing with the engineers. They were on a first name basis with one another, but they were on a last name basis with everybody else. So I tried to make that statement in there, and it backfired because people got confused. Even though I introduced every character with their full name and used their full name a couple times that chapter, people forgot it. They forgot who Thomas was, or if that person is the same one as Calhoun, even though the name is Thomas Calhoun. Things like that.
You've got to pretty much refer to somebody in the same way, even though real people will have different names in different ways. It is, like you said, it's a confusing factor.
Yeah. Now I do this in Derelict though, because Callie Mora always calls herself Callie when she's thinking, when the narrator's with her. She's always Callie, but everybody else calls her Callie Mora. All the Marines call her boss, except Dickerson, who calls her corporal. So
and that's true. That's the way people would be.
Right. So it's planning things like that, but sometimes people don't get it, and you just can't. I've learned I have to be a lot less subtle about it, and I haven't really drawn attention to it, and no one's complained about it in Derelict, but in the Black they were confused as hell. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to, if you're going to try and use a tool like that or introduce something in your fiction, I think you have to make sure that you have somebody bird dog it so they can say, this isn't working.
You need a good first reader.
Yeah, you need a good beta reader. You really need a good beta reader.
I'm not going to call it a beta reader. I'm going to call it a first reader.
Or first alpha reader.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I'm changing in the way that I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for the book that I'm currently writing. Is I'm going to be transitioning from having a team of beta readers to one person reading it and then paying an editor to look for all the copy editing stuff. I'm still going to have the folks get advanced reading copies, but I'm only going to be starting after this book to look at one person's opinion on story and plot, because I found somebody that I can get decent information back from. And it's really chaotic when you've got more than one person doing it. And I don't think that it's beta anymore. I've settled on that term of first reader. It's because he's the one that's going to get a chance to read it first and give me his feedback of things he thinks I need to change. And I'll listen to him. Might do it, might not do it, but it'll streamline my process anyway.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see how that works. I'll be very interested to hear.
Too.
Huh? Do what?
I said, me too.
Okay, so that was number 3?
That was number 3.
Okay. So number 4. Dialogue tags.
Oh, those are a tough one.
Dialogue tags. Okay.
Stick with said, goddammit.
It's so freaking difficult because I always want to, I visualize it as a movie, right? As a movie in my head. And the characters will do things. They might have quirks. They may have something that they do. So I try and capture that. And the problem is it turns into this massive mess where a word, like when you're trying to come up with a word to describe the person making a sound in response to something, grunt or Whisper or something along those lines. And it's really easy to overuse them. It's really easy to overuse them, and it's really easy to make them annoying as hell. If two people are talking, I try and use dialogue tags as sparingly as possible. If I have more than two, then I have to do it, and I find different ways to do it. Like introducing the character, whose point of view or who's speaking before they talk is an easy way to do it, because it informs the reader, okay, we've switched over and Callie Moore is now talking, but Dickerson was talking just a minute ago because he said corporal or whatever else. I can do little tricks like that. You know who's talking just by the way they talk. So, yeah. But at the same time, it's got to be clear for those that don't pick up on the subtlety, and that means you got to put some stuff in there to help them out.
Another thing you can do is have people doing things.
Yes, doing things.
Bob picked up the cup, and then you have the dialogue following that. Correct. The fact that Bob has done something clues the reader in that Bob is now talking.
Right. Unfortunately, I was working on this today. It is so damn difficult to describe things and build up the sense of dread when you cannot hear. I have these Marines in vacuum. There's no sound. The only thing
that's totally untrue. I watch Star Wars. I know how this works. That's how it works.
Jesus Christ. So oh God, the hate mail. Okay, so yeah, you're just opening this trap for me. You've just spread it open, put the bait down, and said, walk in that, Paul. Go ahead. Eat some of that shit. See what happens. Go ahead.
Trust me, buddy. There's no right answer from this point. You're screwed. You're a Star Wars hater.
In my books, in a vacuum, there's no sound. There's vibration, obviously, but not sound. So the normal things that I do to clue you in on something approaching from behind or something along those lines, that's out the window. The black makes a sound when it consumes organic matter. So I can use that so well to make people freak out completely, or clue the reader in what's about to happen, but maybe the character has no idea what's about to happen because they don't know what that sound is.
I can give you an idea for that.
Uh-oh.
You've got people in vacuum suits. If you have something sneaking up behind them, maybe whatever it is just slightly affects the radio frequency and they hear just a little buzz in their headphones.
Oh, you asshole. Okay, that's it. I'm throwing away the Derelict Saga. I got to start it over.
Oops. Guess you should have asked me first.
God damn it. That would have been a cool thing to add, actually. I may have to steal that.
It makes sense because it's very much like what the black does, but depending on, I have no idea what's sneaking up on them, but if it's something that could affect systems in their suit, might not even be the radio is the easiest because it adds the audio that you were just talking about to it. But you could do it could affect some other system in there.
I use radiation alerts.
Yeah, so if the little thing in their monitor in the tip of their head going tick 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 tick. Uh-oh.
It shows up on their HUD.
Exactly. You could have it.
See the rad count.
Wait a minute. It's coming up. Something's happening. What?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's this radiation coming from?
Exactly. It's just forced me to change the way I do that. And I was thinking about that today because there was this perfect opportunity for sound. And I went, I can't use it. Can't do it. And it was tough to break it because I just suddenly wanted to find a way to repressurize the cabin just so I could do this part of it. But oh well, it's fine. I figured out how to make it creepy already, so it'll be plenty creepy. Me? No, I'm not good at it at all. So yes, dialogue tags. Dialogue tags suck.
Oh, for dear God's sake, dialogue tags. Let's go the other way with that. Please restrain yourself when using dialogue tags from going too much beyond said.
Which is what I was saying I'm trying not to do.
Don't be howling. Don't be screaming. Well, you can be screaming, but you don't. There's so many people just feel the need to don't retort. God damn it. He retorted. Do not retort.
He ejaculated.
Oh, please. If you're going to do that, close the door.
I remember when I first saw that in a Stephen King book, I went, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Now, if you go look at the word, it is actually a correct usage of the word. But it is so loaded with the other connotation that it's useless. It is an absolutely useless word unless you are referring to discharge from male anatomy or female anatomy for that matter.
If you read Doc Savage, some of the original stuff
you've
put
told
out there,
this,
it's in there and it was appropriate for when it was written. But holy cow, it really knocks you out of the story when you're like, what did he say?
He did what with the what?
Put that thing back in your pants, Ham.
Oh, Christ. Yes. Yes. Don't do that.
Don't do that. All right. My number 4 is more of a thing that I do, that I try to put away when I'm starting a project. I worry about how successful something is going to be. And I shouldn't be. I have to just accept that some projects are going to be more successful than other projects. And a writing career is one of ups and downs. Some things are going to be well received. Some things are not going to find as big an audience. But I try to put that out of my head when I'm writing. And I'm going to be writing this lit RPG and I'm going to be sitting there going, it's going to suck. It's going to go out there and 3 people are going to buy it. So I've got to put that out of my head, and it's going to be a struggle to put that out of my head because I have no idea how large the audience actually is. It's going to be very exciting.
Very exciting?
Luckily, I'm sandwiching it in between 2 books that I know will be successful. So I'm taking precautions to, if it's not as successful as I would hope, then it's not going to, kill me. But trying to worry about how well received any book is going to be just saps your will to live. And I try to not do that.
I want to get to the point where I have the ability to write one artist book a year, or one that I know is not going to sell as well, one that I can take a risk on. I want to get to the point where I feel like I can do that without alienating everybody or really affecting the income. I mean, Gears Inferno has not sold worth a shit, but I know why that is. So we're probably going to reboot that book. Probably going to change the title and alter the cover and reboot it as soon as I get the audiobook finished.
I know that when I wrote the post-apocalyptic novel, I still get notes saying, when's that second book coming out? It did not perform nearly as well as I would have hoped that it would have. I'm still going to write that second book, but it keeps getting itself knocked further down the list of things to do because, things like mortgages paid.
Yeah.
But I try as much as humanly possible to do what I want to do and not have the almighty dollar dictate my writing schedule. It doesn't always work, but I try to at least keep it out of the process as much as I can.
I think that is a real problem. It's been a real problem for me. Remembering that this is all long tail and everything else. I mean, it's funny the way these things work. When the Derelict Saga is finally finished, that's probably when it's really going to start selling. When everybody knows the 5th book, the series is done, and that's it. When we started that, the last book, when we put that out there as being the last book in the Derelict Saga, that's probably when some people are going to try it. And hopefully they'll buy all 5 books. But the point is that it's going to, I can't tell what it's going to do. I may write something else like the G Chronicles, or maybe something further along in the Soul and Beyond universe, and it might drag people into that. It may be the Black Four, who knows? And then suddenly they're going to go back and look at that series again, and it will have been quote unquote worth my time, monetarily wise. English, Paul, English.
You just need to drop off the wise.
Yeah, the wise. Get rid of the wise. But then it's just...
It's worth your time monetarily.
It's worth my time monetarily?
That's what you're looking for. But you've got to look at the long term, like you were saying, long tail there. When I originally published the first book in the post-apocalyptic series, it didn't do so great in the first 3 or 4 months that it was out. It did successfully enough to where it was all right. I was happening to tally up numbers since then. It's been out almost 2 years. It's more than paid for itself. It more than paid for the time that it took me to write it and publish it. It's not a failure by any means. None of the books that I have published have earned so little that it's a monetary failure, but it takes a couple of years sometimes for the ones that are slow to earn out.
I think it's funny. Every time I release a new book in Derelict Saga, sales do pick up on those books, or page reads pick up on those books that don't sell. Garaga's getting some love right now. I have no idea why. And same thing goes for Closet Treats and Gears Inferno. So something, every once in a while you see something happen there and you're like, how could I make that happen a little more often? But since I'm not in control of the marketing and things like that for the Sever Press books, there's really not much I could do. But for my own stuff, how do I make those books sell better? Because not all of them are pieces of shit. Just some of them.
Looking at the Empire of Bones, which is my biggest earner, and Scorched Earth, which is my lowest earner, it's a scale of about 10-1.
Wow.
So it makes a huge difference. And that's where having lots of publications, lots of books come in useful. If you're trying to live off a single book, if you could ever have done that, those days are long gone.
I think what part of your success, though, with that is the fact that you have started multiple series at the same time. Whereas I've been stuck on Derelict for, goddamn, a year and a half, 2 years now. And before that, I was stuck on the Black for a year and a half. So it may be the fact that you keep switching and you're putting more book ones out there that you're getting that kind of bump. And I wonder sometimes if that's not really helping you.
The other book ones don't do nearly as well as Empire does.
Of course. But you don't have any other book ones that are like this one, that are like Empire.
Not in a, well, I've got Liberty Station.
Yeah, but Liberty Stations doesn't have the same feel to it.
No, it's adventure.
Yeah,
it's not quite the same thing.
No, it's not soap opera, it's adventure. So part of me wonders if you started another series that is more soap opera-y, doesn't even have to be in the Empire of Bones universe, if that would be another big money maker, because then you're basically picking up your audience and taking them to the next series, and then going back.
It's entirely possible. We'll find out if me and the person that I'm looking at co-authoring, once I get the legalese on the contract done and work starts on that project, we'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that new project goes forward.
The things that we do.
I still want to write an urban fantasy novel. I still want to write a lit RPG novel. There's all kinds of things that I would love to write, and that I'm going to be more able to write now that I'm writing consistently. That's the key. You're a writer, man. You gotta write.
I want to write. I'm going to get so much shit for this. I want to write a romance novel that takes place in one of the Martian domes in Soul and Beyond.
Then you should.
A Romeo and Juliet style thing.
That's not romance.
No.
That's a
tragedy.
Suicide pact.
It doesn't have to be that. But, bottom line is some of the same tropes. and then mangle it and make it my own. I'm not going to promise it won't turn into a tragedy, because why make those promises? We all know I'm going to break them.
90% way through the book, the romance turns into a bloodbath and everyone dies.
I love you. I love you too, Crackle. What is that? Snap, crackle. Ah!
Wait a minute. Where'd the black come from?
Paul got so sick and tired of this book, he just said, fuck it, we're killing everybody. And for no reason.
By the end of book 1, Paul grew to loathe the love interest. And by the end of the book, he had plotted his death.
Oh, God, the things I wish I could get away with. Oh, so I need to write some parody fic of my own fic. I think that would just be cathartic in so many ways.
You should write a short story parody of yourself.
I think I did that in the street, actually. I'm in the street.
Well, I don't mean of you personally. I meant of your writing style.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was going to be the Black NATO. I just haven't figured out how to write it yet.
It's going to be awesome.
Shakes head. I really do.
Just talking about Shaft.
Just make it the most ridiculous thing. When I record it, I could put in sound effects and just make it even more ridiculous. It would be fun. It would be a whole lot of fun.
Number 4 for you, mister. Back on course here.
Number 4 for me was dialogue tags. We're now at number 5.
Are we?
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's your number 5?
A list of overused words.
Oh, dear God. I've got plenty of those. If I really need to go through my damn books before I send them off to anybody and look for he shook his head and he nodded. Holy cow.
Shrugged?
I think these people. Oh, my God.
Shrugged?
Yes, shrugged a lot.
Let's see. Click their tongues. But also words like wan, crimson. That's my favorite one for everybody to point out, as there's always crimson in a Cooley novel or Cooley story.
Crimson and clover, over and over.
No, we're not doing that. We are not doing that. Okay, so you realize this is episode 499.
Is it really?
It is.
What the hell are we doing next episode? We're going to have to talk about that.
I don't know. And neither one of us was paying attention to that. And now it's a week out. But
awkward.
I know. It's so, I don't know. We should have planned for this. We're really bad at planning.
We're totally bad at planning.
We need like somebody to actually like wipe our asses for us.
You know what we should do for episode 500?
Uh-oh.
We should have other people host it and we just be the guests. You think I'm joking? I'm actually not joking.
Oh my God.
I think we should bring in, body doubles to go ahead and actually host this while we just watch the train wreck proceed.
While we watch the train wreck. Hey, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. A backseat podcaster. There you go. A backseat host. Oh my God. Oh, it'd be so bad. Anyway, back to the list of overused words. I do have a list of words that I have to watch myself, and I try, and every book before I send every book out, I try and remember this is the last step of the editing process, to go through and find the words that just do not fucking belong. And you used it once, you're done with it now. Slid it alone. But it's so difficult because, like with the pine cones and derelict, the word rugose perfectly describes their exterior. And I was taught to use one word. Don't use 5 words if you can use one. The problem is there's only so many times you can use that one word before you burned it to cinders. So then you have to kind of branch out a little bit. Otherwise, readers can get kind of grumpy for some reason.
Yeah.
Plus, if you read it out loud, it sounds horrible if you keep saying rugose over and over again. People are going to be like, Paul, you need a thesaurus. And I don't want a thesaurus. Those things are nasty, man. They try and reach you with their little arms and pick you up and eat you. It's just not a good time. I've seen those Jurassic movies.
Yeah, about that Saurus thing.
Hey, dictionary.com. Can you give me a fucking hint?
I actually have a book. It's not a thesaurus per se. It's more of just a conglomeration of words that word might actually suggest as alternatives. It's not really looking for synonyms per se. It's just looking for words that are all clustered together. Like it has medical terminology, and then it has a bunch of common medical terminologies under there. Things like that, so that one thought of yours can then take aim and go further. And I do refer to it on occasion, not nearly as much as I should.
I think we all end up with that. I think it's the first step in solving the problem is realizing it's a problem. Go to the 12-step group for it. Oh God, are you having troubles? Are you having issues? Oh, you went to go grab the book.
It was on the thing there, and this is actually very useful. If I just flip it open here, demurring politely, begging to differ. Den, burrow, cabin, cave, cavern, couch. Couch? A couch is a den? I have no idea. But at least it gives me some ideas when I'm trying to hunt for something and I don't know what it is. When I'm just groping for something, this takes a subject and says, okay, let's look at some words that might be related to that subject. And gives me a clue.
I may have to get me one of those. Usually I just type in a word that I think is close to what I'm reaching for, and I'll do like you. I'm just using dictionary.com or Webster's or whatever. I'll just type it in and see what it comes back with and go, okay, they don't list that word, but that's the word I'm looking for. It just kind of jars your memory.
For example, here, they've got a section here called ships and shipping terms. And it's just like a full page of listing of things, of terms. Ship's journal is a log, just different things inside there. So you could go, oh, I've got the subject. Here we go. Shovels and digging tools. It's got spades. It's got rakes. It's got scoops. It gives me a clue if I'm looking for a word that's relating to something.
What is that gardening implement called?
Exactly. I was like, I know this is something to do with gardening. What could it possibly be? And then I see these listed terms. Oh, that'll work. That'll work.
Yeah. Little strategies like that help, but
the Dictionary by Barbara Ann Kipfer, PhD, not bad. I like it.
Let me grab that. Where are you? Hey, stop it. Come here.
It says on the cover, for when you know what you want to say but can't think of the word.
All right. Got it. I'll include that in the show notes. So what is your number 5, Terry?
Something that's new to me, something that I've known for the entirety of the time that I've been a writer and have failed in so many times, but I'm trying to recover. It's one of those things where you fall off the wagon and you got to pick yourself back up and climb on. And that's write every single day. I try not to skip days. Even if I'm only going to write a few hundred words, I will write that. And it's easier when you get into the habit of doing it. When it becomes easy to skip days, then you stop being a writer. You become someone that has written.
And on that cheery note, yeah, you're right. You are correct, sir. I write something every day, but it may not be on my current work.
Is it fiction?
Not necessarily. Well, sometimes.
I'm going to say that I think you should write fiction every day. We're fiction writers. We can allow ourselves to fall down the rabbit hole of writing blogs, of doing these other things that require writing, and convince ourselves that they are writing, but they're not. Writing stories, creating characters, doing things to advance ourselves as fiction writers, to get that practice in every day. If you're not trying to write every day, then I think you're doing yourself a disservice. I certainly did myself a damn disservice by not writing something fiction-wise every day. And now, since you challenged me to be in the magic spreadsheet, I haven't missed a day.
Right. because you're
and
a
now
good
I'm
man.
invested. Now I'm invested because now I've actually got that streak going, and now I'm looking at, God, I don't want to end it now. I've been doing it for 60 days now. I don't want to break it now. Shit.
The Shadow Cat has decided to join us.
Hi, Shadow Cat.
We don't know what he's going to do, but it will probably end badly for everybody involved, because that's the kind of cat he is. Schmuck. I enjoy writing essays. I enjoy writing reviews, and I post those on Patreon all the time. And it's funny because I sometimes forget how much people enjoy what I'm thinking about on those topics, because I almost always relate to the writing. Almost always relate to the writing of what I'm working on at that time. Or, hey, this is something really cool that I thought was something you should know about. I enjoy writing those too, because they're just a lot of fun to do. And the other thing is I get to logically go through something, tear it apart, make an argument out of it, and try and describe exactly why it affected me the way it did. And it's actually good. It's very, very therapeutic when I do it. Very therapeutic. But yes, I understand your point completely. I've been hitting what book am I working on again? I've been hitting Trident. I've been hitting Trident every day in bits and pieces, and I don't even worry about what the result is. It's just there's a portion of a scene that was really bothering me, and I wasn't sure what to do with it. And then today I finally decided, okay, let's do this and see how it works. And I think I found what I'm doing, and I'm basically foreshadowing something really ugly. And now I know that I'm foreshadowing it, how I can go merrily on my way through the rest of this particular chapter and sew it up so we can move the hell on. Any other topics that just kind of jump to mind? Any other quick notes? I can't really think of anything else.
None is popping into my head. But seriously, folks, write. Be a writer. Write every day if you can. I know life is tough. I was actually more productive as a writer when I had a full-time job. I am completely not joking. It's taken me 3 years as a full-time writer to get up to the production level. I was writing a full-time job and had to really scrimp and save those moments when I was going to write.
Yeah, this is true. Of course, now I spend much more time on DRS. I spend more time with the stuff with Patreon. I spend all that time doing that, plus the day job that I do part time. It sometimes can make you feel like you're all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. And then when I force myself back to the keyboard, I'm having fun. It's just so hard to remember that, hey, there's this keyboard thing and you have a story on the fire. Go work on it. And after 5 or 10 minutes, I'm lost. It's wonderful. So just get ass in chair and write. Get ass in front of desk and write. Get ass in front of desk. Get person in front of desk.
If you've got your ass in front of the desk while you're writing, you're a damn impressive soul.
Look, I am damn impressive, okay? Come on.
Okay, I'll admit it. Your ass, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, my ass is impressive. Now, if it could just hold up a pair of jeans, we'd be in good shape.
On that note. If you have something that you would like to tell us that we missed out on about things that you should or should not be doing while you're writing, before you're writing, anytime during your writing, send us a note at show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can find Paul on Twitter at Paul_E_Cooley. You can find us on Facebook at the Listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group, where you can write everything you want in present tense, second person to complain about, what Terry said to you. You're shaking your head. Did I break up?
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay, just making sure. Where was I? You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast. You can find us on patreon.com at patreon.com/DRS podcast. And best of all, or not best of all, but we have to thank the folks at Podhoster who host the audio segments for your listening pleasure. Paul, who are our $10 patrons this week?
Well, if I had that in front of me, I could tell you.
Oh, damn it. You had one job. Okay,
Barely.
you got a lot of jobs.
I was trying to open I was trying to open it, and I realized very quickly that I was looking at my patron list and not the show's patron list. One of those days. Our $10 patrons are right now: Sue, get out of my way or get run over, Bayman. JD Barker, Kelson, double dealing. Isabel, sorry I went missing. PayPal, how to stroke cushy. Rick, listening this week, dead heading to the Bronx. Shaw, dead heading to the Bronx. That's another good book title. Lisa Slack, Sandy Manpants, On Manatsu, Tracy Bodine, John Kilgallen, Devin Lee, Nathan Dry Spell Petty, Drew Paul's Microphone, Boners Bernardi. Oh, God, no. Well, Chris Winder, Andre Conde Moraes, DJ Chamberlain, and J.R. Handley.
Thank you very much, folks, for supporting us. We deeply appreciate it. You make this show possible. All of you listeners make this show possible.
Yes, you do. Thank you.
And with that, folks, we will see you next week. We'll actually see the patrons for the live Patreon show next week as well.
The next weekend?
For us, it's next weekend. For the show, sorry, folks, you've already missed out.
Yeah, this is true. I guess I should announce that.
You probably should. Say goodbye, Paul.
Say goodbye, Paul.
Bye-bye, folks.